Hello, my name's Zetta Thomelin. I'm the Vice Chair of UCCHO, and I'm joined today by my colleague and fellow director, Stephanie Kirke. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello, Zetta. Good to be with you this afternoon.
Thank you. We're going to be talking today about the hypnotherapy descriptors. Now, I just want to be clear what that is. It's the description, the definition of hypnotherapy and what it can treat, what we can work with, that is agreed with the Advertising Standards Authority. Now, that might make you think, oh, well, it only affects advertising, so it may not be so relevant. But actually, it affects everything you say that promotes your work as a hypnotherapist or a hypnotherapist does for their work, whether it be their website, promotional material, leaflets. So it's a very important definition, and it helps to sort of dictate the public perception of what hypnotherapy is and what we can work with. So Stephanie has been working on some changes to the descriptors. Stephanie, could you just tell us why you think that's necessary?
Well, it's absolutely correct what you've said about the descriptors so far, Zetta. But the context of the descriptors was born within the realms of regulation, which was 2010-11. So at that point in time, the descriptors evolved through a great deal of negotiation, and they're over 10 years old. So things have moved on. That's one of the main reasons for looking at the descriptors again and updating them.
What sort of thing does it say now? You know, what sort of treatment areas is it covering now, if we can use that word, treatment?
Well, we can look at the existing descriptors were very fragile and traditional things like smoking cessation, anxiety, stress. Those three were in the main training diploma qualifications for hypnotherapists. But we've moved on a little bit since then in terms of research, which is the evidence that backs up the new descriptors. And evidence-based research is really essential because it gives a profession confidence to say to the public, we've got good evidence that hypnotherapy can help with this condition. And usually they're health conditions. Sometimes it can be behavior, it can be perception, it can be emotions. So we've included some new descriptors which cover post-traumatic stress disorder, for example.
Oh gosh, very important work. Yes.
Yes, and it's very challenging work. So we don't increase these descriptors lightly, but there's good research evidence that post-traumatic stress disorder, the symptoms of that can be helped greatly with a competent and ethical practitioner that's been trained in that area. Depression, I'm not sure how long you've been in the profession, Zetta, but I've been in it nearly 3 decades now. And when I first became a practitioner, a qualified practitioner, depression was the main complaint that people brought to the clinical setting. And but it wasn't in the descriptors. It hasn't been in the descriptors. So we now got massive amounts of research that really supports the use of hypnotherapy to deal with the symptoms, reducing the symptoms of depression. I emphasize that because another area that is already in the descriptors is sleep management. We find very often that health conditions are not things that exist within isolation. Very often we've got connections between, for example, pain management. That's a descriptor that's already in the original set of descriptors. But with pain management, it also goes hand in hand with sleep deprivation. So those two obviously link. And the public need to be confident that a practitioner knows what they're talking about when they go along for pain management, and some of that can be really specialist work too.
Yes.
The practitioners really need to know that, and really emphasize that sleep is going to be a given. You need to help a person with their sleep deprivation. So descriptors are really important as a guidance mechanism for the public to be aware of, and practitioners, of course.
And it's been so interesting that people come through your door with a variety of different things, like you say, depression that we're working with. We're actually doing that work, but it's not in the descriptors. So someone thinking about, oh, I'm suffering from depression, what might be able to help me? If they're not very imaginative, they won't make that jump. That it can be helpful.
I believe that with today's training, we create practitioners that join the dots.
Yes, yeah.
For the public, for clients that come along, their questioning and their consultation work is really central to an effective care plan, in terms of the benefits that can come as a natural knock-on effect. You alter one perceived aspect of pain management, for example, and that knocks on to a better sense of well-being. Naturally. It's just that a person coming with really serious health challenges doesn't always understand this. So it's important that practitioners educate their clients, and without giving them false hope. We're not talking about that. We're talking about possibilities for future relief of distress.
And that research base, the work that's going on in the background all the time really helps inform moving forward. I know that like IBS is one of the things that's on the existing descriptors, and that NICE did accept, because there's some really good research evidence out there. But now there's really good research evidence in so many other areas that we need to bring forward. Am I right in thinking the original descriptors don't mention clearly phobia?
That's right.
And when you think about it, even the general public, when you think of hypnotherapy, they'll think of fear of spiders and these sorts of things that you expect hypnotherapy to work with. And it's not actually in the existing descriptors. It's quite a surprise, isn't it? What's not there? What is there?
Yes, it's quite interesting that particular condition, phobia. It's one of the most successfully treated conditions that you could ever have in terms of a person coming along to a hypnotherapist. It's one-off learning. It happens very, as it says, rapidly, and it's very successfully treated because it's a learned response. So you can unlearn something and relearn something different. It's really a challenge if you suffer with a phobia and you honestly believe that you'll never be free of it. But for example, the most relevant phobia today in COVID times is needle phobia.
Yes, absolutely.
It's really a focus, and it's one of the reasons why people may not turn up to be vaccinated. So, I implore people, if they happen to have a needle phobia, find a good, competent, ethical hypnotherapist and get yourself along to them, because it's a very successfully treated ordinarily.
And it's great that we're having this dialogue, because it gets that information out there. And I think people need to be aware. We're not just aiming this discussion at practicing hypnotherapists to understand what they can and can't say, but it's about the general public to understand there's a whole wealth of things out there that we can help with. And I think you're looking at different specialists, aren't you, who can bring knowledge to this descriptor debate, like Michael Yapko and his work on depression.
These people, the specialists, are we've really provided the list of specialists for the ASA to take the shortcuts to find. These are the specialists working in that clinical area And these are the publications that they've given over the last decade, which is really gives confidence to practitioners and the public that they can be helped.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's been a huge amount of work in PTSD, as you highlighted earlier. People like Pat Ogden, who really, great work in PTSD, and we can get these figures coming forward and supporting hypnotherapy with the ASA. We really begin to move forward in that public perception and what we can say, what we can talk about, you know, which is really, really helpful, isn't it?
I'm really enthusiastic in terms of identifying specialists, because some uniquely are practitioners and academics, and that's really key, because the gulf between academia and clinical specialists is quite wide in some areas. It's very difficult to for the clinicians to access academic research. We don't typically do it. We're not trained to do that. But there's more and more practitioners coming through who are specialists and publish research. It's a lot to do with funding and money, I have to say. But some of the specialists, they've worked for 3 or 4 decades in their area. So if we cannot take what they are saying and what they are demonstrating by the research, then nobody else can do it either. So they are at the top of their profession.
And I think we're interested in encouraging more research with hypnotherapy, and I think that's why at UCCHO we've become involved with the Research Council of Complementary Medicine to try and drive this forward, because where we can expand the descriptors and expand the understanding of hypnotherapy and what we can do for the general public, who, I mean, let's face it, we've just come through such a terrible time. There's so much anxiety, distress, addiction, so many problems going on. And this is a resource. We have a resource that can really help people. And that's why this is a good time to be looking at this.
Yeah, it's a very valuable asset, I believe. I think in the past, say a decade ago, we had very little research available that was considered scientific. You know, we had single case studies rather than mega-analysis studies, which is something that academics excel at. But in the last decade, there's been such a lot of progress being made that we would be negligent not to take advantage of it, because it helps us promote what we do well with the public, who, as you say, have undergone so much suffering that it just doesn't make sense for that to continue.
Yes, I think that hopefully we've made it clear what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, and why it needs to be done. You know, that there's this focus on what hypnotherapy can do now and the evidence to support that. I think
I'm also optimistic as well, because it's like in the new descriptor proposal, we've highlighted for attention that the fact that we want to be working effectively and efficiently with people who come to us and are very vulnerable, but we want to work with them in conjunction with the medical model. So we want to encourage people to get an accurate diagnosis of depression, rather than just take it from their common assumptions that they are depressed when they could be stressed, not depressed. So we're very clear in the new proposal that it's pain that's medically diagnosed, it's depression that's medically diagnosed. So all in all, it demonstrates also that with some conditions, we essentially want to work with adequate supervision of those medically orientated conditions, I think we'll get a closer fit with the medical model,
Yes.
and yet still be able to stand on our own feet and support our own benefits for the public.
It's about integrated healthcare, isn't it? Really,
Yes,
and that's the
that's
way
the
forward.
word.
And
Yes.
interestingly, it's something that the College of Medicine have just published a new document in which they're talking about integrated
Right.
healthcare being really important moving forward and bringing
Yes.
complementary and alternative medicine into the story more. And I
Yes.
think that can only benefit the general public.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for your time today and your incredible
Have
wisdom
we
on
covered
this
it?
subject. I've always enjoyed talking to you about it. And maybe when we've come the other side of this, we can do an update and saying, well, this is where we're at now, and this is what we've achieved, and this is what the descriptors now say. So
Yes, of course, because this is ongoing.
yeah, it is.
This will be a process that's ongoing for good reason. It's not done in a vacuum. There are always new things discovered and new ways of working with people. So we're keeping up to date with those too.
Okay. Thanks
Brilliant.
very much, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Zetta.